In the last video, we created a simple website that has animated transitions. So if we test our movie by hitting Control-Enter, we'll see that when we click on any one of our buttons, it will take us to the next page, but that next page will animate on. So if we click on About Us fades in. If we click on Contact, Contact fades in. And you can do that with any number of different things. You can do that by fading in the alpha, you can do it by moving it onto the stage, or any number of other things. Let's close this, and in this video we're going to talk about how to create the exact same website, but we're going to do it all with only one frame on our main timeline. And the way we're going to do that is we're basically going to stick all the rest of these frames where we have all of our animations, we're going to stick all of that into a movie clip. So we could start from scratch and do that, but let me go ahead and show you how to do it by taking everything that we've done so far and just cutting and pasting it into a movie clip. Okay, so we have on the bottom two layers our buttons and our menu bar. We're going to leave those alone. We're going to go ahead and leave those on their own layers, and then we'll put everything else, the labels and the content and the stop actions, we'll put all of that inside a movie clip. So I'm going to click on the bottom right frame and drag to the left for the content layer, and I'm also going to drag up so that all of the frames for the stop layer, the labels layer, and the content layer are selected. So we want all of those selected, and then we will cut those frames. Now there are a couple of ways we can do that. We can right click and then go down to cut frames, or we could use the keyboard shortcut. Let me highlight that again. We could use the keyboard shortcut, which is Control Alt and X. If you just hit Control X, that won't work. That'll cut selected items from the stage, but it won't cut frames. To cut frames, you'll hit Control Alt and X, or if you're using a Mac, that would be Command Option and X. So you'll see that those frames have been cut from the stage. Now we no longer need all three of these layers. Instead, let's delete the stop and labels layer and just leave the content layer there, because we still need a layer to put our movie clip in. So we're going to click on frame 1 for our content layer, and let's go to Insert, New Symbol, and this is going to be a movie clip symbol, so make sure movie clip is selected, and we'll call this content. This is all the content of our website. So we'll click on OK. Now we're inside that content movie clip. You can see that in our edit bar here, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on frame 1. Now we can right click on it and click on Paste Frames, or we can use the keyboard shortcut, which is Control Alt and V, or Command Option V if you're using a Mac. And as you can see, it pasted all of our frames onto the stage, and it also named those layers for us. So we have the exact same functionality as far as the stop actions are concerned, and all of the tweens and the labels. Now all we need to do is to alter the code in the main timeline and then put this movie clip on the stage. So let's click on Scene 1 to go back to our main timeline. And we're going to click on frame 10 here where we have our actions, and we're going to click and drag this over to frame 1 so that those actions are now in frame 1 instead of frame 10. And then we're going to take all of our layers over here, highlight everything except for the first frame, and then once those are selected we can delete those. And the keyboard shortcut for deleting frames is Shift F5. F5 adds frames and Shift F5 deletes frames. Okay, so now we just have one frame, and on the content layer for frame 1, that's where we're going to stick our new movie clip. So we're going to open up our library, and in our library we'll find this content movie clip. We'll just drag that onto the stage. Now one thing we need to do is, if we drag this around, first of all you can see kind of the outline of our content for the first frame of that movie clip. If we double click on this and look at frame 1, even though it's invisible here, if we click on that movie clip we can see it. And so when we go back to scene 1 and click and drag this movie clip around, we can see the outline there for the content that's supposed to be in frame 1. So we can actually use that to nudge it into place. And if that doesn't work, then you'll just have to nudge it into place, test your movie, see where everything is, and then nudge it around if it's not in the right place until you get it to where it needs to be. So now we have this movie clip on the stage, and we need to give this movie clip an instance name, because what we're going to do is we're going to use our actions layer here, and we're going to point to this movie clip and tell that movie clip what to do whenever we click on certain buttons. So this movie clip needs to have an instance name. So with that movie clip selected, we'll come down here to our instance name text field, and we'll just give this an instance name of content_MC. Easy enough. So let's lock that content layer, and then everything else will be done in the actions layer. We'll click on frame 1 for our actions, hit F9 or option F9 if you're using a Mac to open up your actions. And I'm going to resize this so that it fits in the window. Okay. So our actions aren't going to change too much. We still have all of the functions that we're going to call on for we're clicking on each of our separate buttons. But inside these functions, we're going to tell our movie clip to go to and play a different frame. So now we're actually pointing to a movie clip. We're not telling the main timeline to go to and play the frame labeled home here. We're going to tell that content movie clip timeline to go to and play the frame labeled home. So all we have to do here is add to the beginning of our statement content_MC dot go to and play home. So we can do that for each of our functions. Content_MC dot go to and play about, content_MC dot go to and play contact, and content_MC dot go to and play products. There we go. So just by changing one little thing here in our action script, we're able to make this work. So let's hit Control Enter to test our movie, and we see that our first page automatically animates on just like it was doing before. And if we click on any of our other buttons, we see that everything still works. The only difference is we've cleaned up our main timeline so that in our main timeline we only have one frame. And all the other frames are stored now inside this content movie clip. So if we double click on that movie clip, we can see all of our frames. So that's just another way that you can construct your simple Flash website so that your main timeline isn't too cluttered. And really it's just a matter of preference. If you want your main timeline to be nice and clean, this is the way to do it. If you don't really care, then it might be okay to go ahead and have everything in your main timeline stretched out across multiple frames. Either way is acceptable, so just do whatever works for you, but that's how you can do that using one frame in your timeline. So let's save our file. We'll go to File, Save As, and I'm going to save this as one-frame.fla. So if you want to take a look at my code or the way that this file is set up, you can open up oneframe.fla in your project files folder. So we'll save that, and we'll move on with the next video.